This video was made possible by sponsors like you. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel.
You're as cuddly as a cactus, and as charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch.
You're a bad banana.
Mr. Grinch.
With the greasy black peel.
Alright, I'll bite. Who is the mean one?
Feature films and shows, are they good or do they blow? We're gonna find out today. Re-examination, reassessment, retrospective, re-evaluation, and recapitulation.
Nero of ToonGrin here, and what do you know, looks like we got ourselves another Grinch movie. Seems like the Green Menace appears every generation or so to come and terrorize the small screen all the way to the silver screen. I mean, we had the TV movie in 1966, animated by Looney Tunes legend Chuck Jones and starring Boris Karloff. We had a full-fledged live-action film in 2000 starring Jim Carrey. And now in 2018, we're getting a full-on CGI animated film done by the Rice Cakes of animation, Illumination, starring Benedict Cumberbatch. Man, talk about variety. You got a Grinch of multiple movie genres and actors, each portraying the character their own way, allowing people to enjoy something wonderful that Dr. Seuss left behind. And yet, despite having all this variety, allowing for each of us to enjoy something different, it seems more often than not people are still in some way, somehow disappointed with the new Grinch.
So they sanded down his spiky edges somewhat.
You're a mean one. Well, you're not really that mean. You're just not nice.
This Grinch is just occasionally grumpy to hide the fact that he's lonely and sad and goes to extremes to convince us he's bad.
So to prepare myself for this video, I decided that the smart thing would be to actually read the book before doing any kind of compare and contrast to anything. So I went out and picked myself up a copy. And I can honestly say that the Grinch isn't really all that mean. He just stares down from his cave and grimaces at the Who's like Batman on a gargoyle in Gotham City. He's just a grump and that's it. So I guess the real nasty, not niceness everyone refers to must be from the 60s film, right? I mean, I guess, though, when you really actually go back and watch that movie, he's only mean to one person, and that's his dog Max. Pretty sure that the song You're a Mean One is what everybody sort of thinks about, what really hypes up the character's meaner and nastier sides that everyone kind of remembers, because in actuality, other than abusing his dog, he really doesn't do much. He just sort of perches up there staring down at the Who's, kind of grumpy. Then you got the 2000 version, which is even way more a cartoon than the 60s version, and arguably more evil. I mean, this is the year 2000 when this came out, so it needs to, it needs to be made cool because Dr. Seuss isn't cool. It's all wholesome and stuff. We need to make it cool for the kids. So he does things like swears.
Are you kidding? The sun is bright and the powder's biting.
And gives children hacksaws to play with.
Hey kids, here's a present for you. Be sure to run real fast with it now. Come on, double time. Let's go. Move, move, move.
But hey, both versions abuse Max, so at least they kept that true between adaptations. I think too many people are hung up on the nostalgia for the character and don't realize that Dr. Seuss, and this might surprise some of you, so just bear with me in all this, but he didn't really create deep or interesting characters. He did, however, create entertaining ones. He knew how to create entertaining archetypes to teach a moral lesson, much in the same way a fairy tale does. The Grinch doesn't have a character outside of being a curmudgeon, and that's it. Now don't get me wrong, the curmudgeon angle is beyond entertaining, and I gotta tell you, the Grinch is my favorite Dr. Seuss creation. Out of everything he's ever done, between Yertle the Turtle, the Cat in the Hat, yeah, the Grinch is my all-time favorite creation of his. That said, the Grinch doesn't really have a character. If you read the book, he just goes from a grump that realizes that Christmas is more than just the fancy bits, that the meaning of Christmas is more of a feeling and the time spent with those you love. It's a good moral, but neither the book, the 60s, or 2000 versions really do the groundwork to really have Grinch make his turn. Now, as for the book, though, it works for the simplification of it. That's Seuss's greatest gift. He knew how to take great concepts and simplify them for a child to understand. He was a master at it. From the Lorax and its environmental message to the Starbelly Sneetches dealing with prejudice. But if you're making a movie, you need more. You can't stretch a 69-page concept into an hour 40-minute movie without adding some stuff. Heck, the 60s film padded everything out with who's flopping and wobbling about, and then the whole mountain going down scene. No one seems to give it any flack. So we got the 60s Grinch, which is a pure, distilled, 100% grump-proof version of the book, with some added animal abuse or preservatives. 60s Grinch is arguably the closest version to the book in terms of being translated to then another media. But the Grinch doesn't interact with the Who's. He talks with Cindy for like a couple of lines at best. He returns the gifts, and he has dinner with them. That's it. He is as bare bones as he needed to be. We all need to accept that this is fact. It is a short book, and therefore, we're now going to movie territory, which means we need a bit more.
But how?
You know, it's actually kind of funny. The 2000 Grinch and the 2018 Grinch, they're actually kind of similar, but still very different. Both films add motive in terms of backstory to explain why Grinch is so sour. Which is fine, because in a movie, characters need motivation, they need reason for what causes them to act the way they are, because that's what allows us as the audience to be invested in their story and see them as real people. The 2000 film shows Grinch being bullied and ridiculed on Christmas, along with some strange love subplot that doesn't work at all and is often more creepy than whimsical.
Oh, Grinchy Poo, I'm dreaming of a grand Christmas.
You know, I find it funny people say that the new film didn't try anything new. We tried something new. 18 years ago, as a matter of fact, we tried something new with The Grinch. We got ourselves a psychopath with ADD. And the vocal consensus is, you hated it. You wonder why a studio is a little bit afraid of trying new things then? Now look, I enjoy the 2000 film, but even I acknowledge that the tragedy of his character doesn't really work, and the movie makes it very clear, very easily, in just one scene. So yeah, from the very start, the Grinch is already a jerk. As a kid, he laughs at crying babies, he flat out bites Santa's head off the Christmas cookie dish, and he draws violent pictures of Santa being shot out of the sky. This kid has all the makings of a psychopath who was born to literally hate Christmas. And even by the end, when he has his big turnaround, his character really doesn't even change. That's all his character is an eccentric grump archetype. We got the stoic animal-abusing grump in the 60s, and the eccentric garbage-eating animal-abusing grump in the 2000s. And based on the comments, it would seem 2018 didn't do anything different with the Grinch.
Wrong-o.
In fact, the 2018 version, in my opinion, takes the 2000 film concept, but does it better at characterizing Grinch for a narrative structure. It's not a perfect movie, I'm saying that. It is not a perfect movie. I'm just saying it took a concept that pre-existed and they did a better job with it. Like I said in the book, the guy is just a grump. So, what is he in the 2018 version?
Excuse me, are you getting that?
No.
He's a grump. What else did you want for him to be meaner exactly? Did you want him to abuse his dog again? You got that for two different versions. I think we could have a version where he doesn't abuse his dog. By the way, serious, bonus points to the movie for him adoring his dog Max. I really like that concept for this character. That despite his bitterness towards everybody around him, dude clearly loves his dog. Makes him super relatable. I really like how this movie unwraps. The Grinch as a child is short and sweet, and it's not long-winded, which I feared immediately when I saw that first poster. I seriously thought that this was going to be like the first 2/3 of the movie. Luckily, Itty Bitty Grinch stays around just enough to get an understanding of the character. I get how critics see it as manipulative, but it's really no different than when Frozen uses Elsa and Anna as kids to show them close for a brief moment before splitting them up for the majority of the movie. Oh, but that's Disney, so, we're not going to criticize that harshly, but this is Illumination, so we're just going to take a colossal dump on it. It's a tool, guys. Kids convey innocence. It's a basic tool of storytelling. Having the Itty Bitty Grinch shown only as a trigger to his social anxiety and drama is fine. using it as shorthand to show us an orphan that during Christmas, he grew up seeing everybody happy and with family while he was all alone and had nothing. Growing up for 53 years, the desire of that small, lonely boy curdled in his heart of a bitter, lonely man, and then that turned into envy. Holy crap. You know, I just realized while recording this is completely off script, he's green with envy. Good gravy, this movie's smarter than I thought it was. Dang. I like these inclusions because Grinch still hates Christmas, but he hates it differently than past iterations. From the books in the 60s, he hates Christmas because of all the noise and happiness. It's a very cartoonish villain approach, but it still does the job. There's a grump who realizes Christmas is not so bad. In the 2000 film, it comes from a very poorly implemented case of he hated it from birth, plus being bullied on Christmas as a child, so he associates the bullying with Christmas. Plus all the Who's are just jerks. Through the course of the film, it's clear that the Grinch dislikes Christmas, but it's out of because he wants to have the same thing everybody else had for Christmas. But he never did, so when he sees everyone else happy, the guy lashes out. He does this through some snide comments, occasionally assaulting kids with snowballs, knocking things off of shelves, and just being an overall grump. You know, the guy's basically a big green grouchy cat. Grinch acts like a child. The same child who never had a real Christmas experience. A child so distraught and lonely that seeing others happy made him run away and become a recluse in the mountains. It's the basic idea of how the creators of the 2000 Grinch and the 2018 Grinch proposed to lengthen the story was by giving their Grinches a proper motivation for the theft of Christmas. In the 2000s, Grinch is motivated by the awful Who's that mistreat him, creating a Grinch more justified in ruining the holiday. So in actuality, it's basically like a child-friendly revenge fantasy film. I like that the 2018 version writes the Grinch's motivation a bit more complex. He's not motivated by some outside phenomenon like weird dog-faced bullies or sound. The new Grinch is motivated by social anxiety and childhood trauma. Being alone for his developmental years, he grew into an exaggerated introvert who doesn't know how to socialize, and the only socialization he does get is with his pet. This Grinch is self-destructive because he wants what others have, but at the same time, he can't convey it, and thus sabotages himself by being a grump and turning away the Who's kindness. It's very much like Shrek in that sense. Grinch sees this season as a constant reminder of his bleak and empty childhood, and having it roll around year after year, it chips away, making his heart smaller and smaller. And if you want to talk about a difference between the 2018 to the other Grinches, then look no further than the Who's themselves. The book in the 60s version shows the idea that the Who's are these beacons of the Christmas season. And the 2000 film went for a different approach, showing that they're pretty much the summation of avarice for Christmas. It's all about the massive expenses, the massive decorations. They're the exaggeration of that. They're also apparently a bunch of racists because they kind of only single out the Grinch just because he looks different. But the 2018 version takes the idea of the book, but tweaks it. The Who's are still an exaggerated embodiment of Christmas, and thus the cause of his frustration. In the book, though, it's just bright lights and noise, but now it's because of the togetherness and a sense of community. This is the Grinch's story of inner turmoil. His arc needs catalysts to change from naughty to nice, and it all starts with the selfless kindness of a child who helps him realize that opening up allows your heart to grow bigger. To those who didn't like the 2018 movie, all I can say is that I'm sorry that this new version didn't resonate with you like it did for me, because it hit me on a personal and emotional level that I was genuinely surprised by. Now maybe your heads weren't screwed on just right, or it could be, perhaps, that your shoes are too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all is that y'all a bunch of Grinches that need to be opened up to different interpretations and stop asking for the same thing over and over again. That's how we get with Disney, and that's why we constantly have stories about princesses wanting more year after year, and I for one am sick of that garbage. Thanks for watching Nero Reviews. And if you haven't seen The Grinch, I do recommend checking it out. Feel free to leave your thoughts on The Grinch in the comments below. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social, and if you like, you can support me by Patreon or Twitter. Links are in the description below, and as always, be sure to tune in to ToonGrin.